a little MIA. A number of us have, all for different reasons, but I've decided that I want to come back. So I want to go into that a little bit. So in my history, I never really had a life, definitely not as an adult, without an eating disorder. I was one of those people who developed anorexia very, very young and held on to it for at least 10 years. And so for me, I never really saw a life where I didn't identify that way. I didn't ever see a life where I didn't relate. And, for the last few years, I've been getting around that. And I do well and truly believe that I can live the rest of my life without an eating disorder. And I'm doing that right now. And part of me didn't want to look back. Part of me didn't want to, as much as I value recovery, I don't want to identify as someone who's recovered from an eating disorder. And I don't want that to be such a huge, substantial part of my identity. Even though it's a very courageous thing to be able to manage, and even though it's something I should be proud of, it's not everything that I am. And I don't know, I guess I just sort of strayed from the channel for that reason. But, I know a lot of people in the field. Obviously, I've been to several treatment centers. I've been through inpatient a couple of times, and, well, more than a couple. But, the relationships that you form in the context of that disorder are tragic, but beautifully so. And I think that, those are the people that made me who I am. And for me to sort of ignore that, it feels a bit like a dishonor. So that is kind of why I'm back. I did lose 2 friends to anorexia this year, and it's going to start happening. Like, I'm almost 30. I'm going to start losing people to this. 10 to 20% of us don't ever make it. And I think that's, for me, when something shakes my world, I go back to what was working. And I go back to the start. And some of that was here. So I guess I want to come back for that reason. In any case, we have a really awesome topic this Monday, or this week. And it's about the special people in our lives. And so we were asked to think of one special person that basically changed our lives. And the immediate one that I default to, I don't even know their name. I barely remember what they look like. But that, the profoundness of their impact on me has not been lost. When I was, I guess, 17, so grade 12, I was getting ready to apply to university. I used to swim competitively, and I used to ride horses as well. I fell off of a horse, and I broke my back. This is why you don't ride horses when you're anorexic. And as such, I lost any sort of chance at a swimming scholarship I had, and I lost any sort of level of activity that kept me sane, because I was not in a good situation at that point. And I started to fall. Like, I started to lose a lot of weight. I started to get very, very anxious and very, very depressed. And something came up at school. It was an ecotourism adventure. So we would get the opportunity to go to Belize for 10 days. And I thought, okay, I think that's what I want to do. Everybody deserves to have their once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I'm not an exception to that. So I decided that this is what I was going to do. I was going to go do this trip. And at the end of that trip, I decided that that would be the end for me. That would be the end of my life, and that would be the high note that it would end on. Because I couldn't see it ending any other way. The situation I was in was deeply abusive and conflicting, and I couldn't see a way out. So that would be my gift to myself. So we went to Belize, and the first day I remember we ended up kayaking just down a river. Beautiful, serene blue water. I'm a very active person, so this is something that I quite enjoyed. We had iguanas, and they would fall from the tree into the water, and it would scare the bejeebers out of us. And we went swimming in open water, which is like, swimming in a pool is awesome, but swimming in open water is pretty amazing. And then we went the next day, we hiked through the jungle, and we went to go explore a cave. So there was a physical component of it, like the wildlife in the cave. It's called spelunking. And but there was also an archaeological aspect of it. So we got to see all these brilliant artifacts, and it was just very, very interesting, very grounding. And at the end of it, we ended up diving off of the cliff, and it's just this, like, you'll never feel more alive than when you do that. I was quite anorexic, but I was never cold. And then that's what I seem to remember the most. Like, yes, I was diving into this freezing cold water, but I didn't feel cold. I felt alive. And then, so we hiked back, and it was like super slippery. It had just rained, and everybody was muddy by the end of the time we got there. I remember I left my shoes there because it's a third world country, so a lot of the times kids were using, they would split a pair of shoes so that they could play soccer and use the shoe on their one foot so that they didn't have to hurt their foot when they were kicking it. Later tonight. Anyway. And then we went off and we went snorkeling. And we basically went out and camped out on an island. So it was a really, really nice island. There was no bugs. I think the only things on the island were birds, rats, and hermit crabs. And so we made our lunch meals, we made everything. It was just super chill, super relaxed, and you sit there and you watch yourself just relax, and you watch the stars come out at night, and you fall asleep under the stars. At one point, we ended up kayaking again, sea kayak this time, out to an atoll in the ocean, which is like a very shallow part of the ocean. So it was like ankle deep right in the middle of the ocean, and we ended up basically having lunch there, which was kind of cool. And then the next day we went scuba diving and snorkeling in what's called the big hole, or the deep hole, or whatever, the big blue hole, something like that. Anyway, it's a crater in the ocean, so it's very, very deep, and the aquatic life is amazing. Anyway, it was what I was looking for. It was the time of my life, and more than that, the people around me were really, really amazing. There were people that I hadn't gotten to know, people I'd never pictured myself knowing. It was connection, and it was something that I had really, really missed, and it was something that I really, really cherished as well. These people come from completely different walks of life. They've never met each other. It's the other thing. We went with another school, so it was only about the third of the people I even knew their first names. And by the end of it, we were, like, I still keep in touch with some of them. And so I decided that was as good as life gets. And I don't regret that decision to go. Not at all. And then, the very last night, we had a storytelling kind of thing going on. And this guy told a story about, one of the tour guides told a story about the rainforest and how we were all plowing through it and, like, clear cutting it, and how this was unsustainable because we couldn't We couldn't keep it up. We couldn't live this way. And for the first time in about 4 years, I just started sobbing, like crying, because I realized I am living in a way that's not sustainable either. And then I decided, based on that week and the story that he told, that I would give life one more shot. And I ended up telling my mom that I needed help for an eating disorder. So he's that special person. He's someone who gave me something. Well, he's one of a number of people who gave me something that I didn't know existed. Something that I could hold on to. And a source of truth. That was just, it fueled something alive in me, and there wasn't much left there. So these people don't have to have a name, they don't have to have a face. Sometimes they're just a little wisp of a memory. But very often, I think about how many people are there like that. The reason I don't post during the summer, when I would have time to, is because I'm away at camp. I work as a camp nurse at a boys' camp up north, and I often wonder, do I ever get to pay it forward? Do I ever get that chance to be that someone, that special someone who just leaves a mark on someone's heart because they care? And I don't doubt that can happen. I've had a lot of parents come up to me and they're like, with their kids have medical conditions, and they're like, we wouldn't leave our kid at this camp if it weren't you here. And I've had kids who come to say goodbye and they start crying because they don't want to leave. And that makes it worth it. Because trust me, I get paid like $4 an hour, and it's a job that I should get paid like $20 an hour for. But it's worth it. It's fulfilling, and it gives me a purpose. But more than anything, at the end of the day, it has me feeling like I don't owe the world anything, because I finally settled my score. All the nice people, all the kind people, all the courageous people, like the 2 friends I've lost, who made me who I am, get to see the benefit to their reward and to their gift to me. So I'm thinking of coming back to start where it begins, start where it matters, and hopefully someone can see some hope. And, maybe just hang on to that. That's all we need. Peace out. Have a good night. Need some sleep now. I'm super tired.